it's impossible for the head coach that's been here, for 4 years and 35 years of doing this, to think anything else but this is my responsibility and we've got to get it turned around. And that's not my decision in terms of whether I'm here or not, but that's what I will do as a head coach that's been doing it for over 3 decades. When things are not going well from a football standpoint, the head football coach has to be agile enough and able to make those changes and find out what we need to do to get our football team to play better.
You're fired. Relay that message to Brian Kelly again. You're fired. The Brian Kelly era is over in Baton Rouge. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Brian Kelly getting fired by LSU after underachieving with a stacked roster. Despite having loads of talent on both offense and defense, LSU already has 3 losses in 2025. Therefore, LSU decided to go ahead and fire Brian Kelly, as he will be receiving a $53.8 million buyout in his contract. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. What was Brian Kelly's biggest flaw during his time as LSU's head coach? The answer to this question is relatively obvious. It is arrogance. Arrogance is what contributed to Brian Kelly's biggest flaw at LSU. I say that because Brian Kelly thought he was going to walk into Baton Rouge and win a national championship rather easily. Obviously, Brian Kelly has had a long decorated coaching career, and he believed that the only thing he needed to cement his legacy was winning a national championship in college football. And give credit to Brian Kelly where credit is due. The man has turned around multiple football programs at multiple universities. This man took Notre Dame pretty far in college football at a time where Notre Dame was regarded as a joke. I understand Marcus Freeman is a much better coach than Brian Kelly, and rightfully so. Marcus Freeman is definitely a coach you can play for and respect big time. As for someone like Brian Kelly, you really only respected Brian Kelly because of the results he was providing year in and year out. But what happens when your team is underachieving year in and year out? You lose that respect for Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly is definitely not likable whatsoever. This man doesn't hold himself accountable. This man believes that he is the greatest coach to ever live on planet Earth, and this guy blames his assistants and players whenever things go wrong. But whenever things go right for Brian Kelly, it's always, oh, it was because of me. It was because I was the smart one in the group. But when I lose, it's, oh, it was someone else's fault. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. That's the issue Brian Kelly has created at LSU. Brian Kelly at LSU created a selfish culture. And who does that start with? The head coach. The head coach is the one who started the selfish-like culture at LSU. LSU has a me-first mentality issue, and that is because of their head coach. Brian Kelly thought that it was a good idea to walk into Baton Rouge and said, yeah, I can win a national championship with those resources that school is going to provide for me. This man blamed the school for why he couldn't win a national championship at Notre Dame. Never mind the fact Marcus Freeman took Notre Dame to the national championship very recently. I know that LSU played in plenty of big games, and Brian Kelly was definitely not ready for the spotlight whatsoever. You guys also have to remember Brian Kelly is a poor fit in SEC football. Brian Kelly doesn't have the personality of what you want in an SEC football coach. Brian Kelly is a far left liberal coaching in a place where you support conservative values big time, and obviously there was a major disconnect between Brian Kelly and the LSU fan base. Brian Kelly is a piece of crap that deserved to lose whenever he did things his way. You look at how he was an absolute asshole to his assistants and to his players, and he was not having the results that you need to back up his contract. I understand LSU has to pay Brian Kelly a lot of money in buyout money, but quite frankly, there is no price too heavy to get rid of a coach who is underachieving in college football. I also want to show you guys this clip of Marcus Spears talking about what the LSU fan base would do if Brian Kelly were to underachieve. He said those statements before the season started. Of course, those statements aged very well for LSU and Brian Kelly. Roll the film.
LSU is in that window now, and Paul and Heather knows this as well as anybody, where if you don't win big, if you're Brian Kelly, this fan base is done. And I'm just telling you, the wins and the success and all of the things, going to the SEC championship, Your first year was great, but people still didn't feel like that was like a big time accomplishment based on how it happened. This year, you see all of the transfers. You see the recruiting class. Garrett Nussmeier in the preseason Heisman conversation. All of those things in the past at LSU has aligned with them having big seasons. It doesn't guarantee a championship, but it should guarantee you being a playoff contender. And if they are not, if they on the outside looking in the playoffs, this fan base is going to turn quickly on Brian Kelly.
You are correct, sir. Yes!
Indeed, Marcus Spears was correct with his statements about Brian Kelly. The LSU fan base ultimately lost patience with Brian Kelly, and rightfully so. I understand Brian Kelly was putting up winning seasons at LSU, but at LSU, they don't play for winning seasons. They play for national championships. What did Ed Orgeron do at LSU? Win a national championship. And Brian Kelly was the one that was supposed to follow up Ed Orgeron at LSU, and he did not do that whatsoever. In fact, Brian Kelly didn't even take LSU to the college football playoff whatsoever. That's entirely unacceptable for the amount of talent LSU brought in year in and year out. They spent a lot of resources on football. They brought in a lot of quarterbacks. They brought in the entire defense through the transfer portal this year, and they've gotten almost nothing out of their investment. Yeah, they've had winning records, but anyone can get a winning record at LSU. It's not exactly like he's coaching at Louisiana or Lafayette. All right, so I mean, Brian Kelly had a talent to work with at LSU, but his teams constantly underachieved, and they constantly lost to teams that were, quite frankly, elite football programs. And when you're a coach that's getting paid the amount of money Brian Kelly was getting paid, that's just simply not good enough. You can't get paid all that money to lose to Ole Miss. You can't get paid all that money to lose to Vanderbilt, and you can't lose to Texas A&M with the amount of money you're getting paid. Those 3 losses in a 4-week stretch, that's enough to get any head coach fired, particularly a head coach who was already on the hot seat to begin with. A lot of people had expectations for LSU to not only make the college football playoff, but to be national championship contenders. They're obviously not anywhere near that. LSU can kiss the college football playoff contention goodbye. They're not going to get anywhere near that. Let's see what's going to happen with LSU moving forward. They need to hire a head coach that's going to reinstall credibility into their program. Brian Kelly made LSU a once proud program a laughing stock in terms of contending for the college football playoff. When you think about LSU, you think about them as an elite football program. You don't think about them as a second-rate football program, but that's exactly what Brian Kelly has done. Obviously, I say arrogance was the biggest flaw to Brian Kelly's coaching career because he believed he could win with any roster. He experienced a little bit of success in Notre Dame, but hey, Brian Kelly discovered that the grass isn't always greener, particularly at LSU. LSU fans never embraced Brian Kelly to begin with. Brian Kelly never really was able to embrace LSU's fan base and what their expectations were for a football team. Therefore, the Brian Kelly era did not work out whatsoever. It ended in utter failure. So that is why arrogance was Brian Kelly's biggest flaw during his time as LSU's head coach. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinStran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinStran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinStran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.